People deluded, I'm back again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. Again, appreciative to you lot tuned in, you lot watching it on the replay. Obviously, it's the month of November, people. New month, new blessings. I hope you and your loved ones, first and foremost, are in great health. I hope you're all doing well and safe. And I hope with it being almost the end of the year, whatever your goals, hopes, dreams, ambitions, aspirations, and all of that good stuff, people, I hope it rings true, people. So, yeah, man, we all know we've got Newcastle later. Well, I say later, tomorrow. It's a game that, you know, big up Newcastle, great club. Nobody wants to go and play at St. James's Park. It's one of those grounds, people. I know Newcastle's form hasn't exactly been that. So, greatest of respect to their supporters, to Eddie Howe, to their players, etc. But pardon my language, fuck all of that. It's become some sort of rivalry. And, you know, last year we got done dirty, balls going out of play, Gabriel being fouled. It's funny how that Gabriel one's a foul, but then you've got Kivior barely touching. You know, admittedly, I did think the Kivior one against Liverpool first time was a foul. Then I watched it again. I was like, boy, it's crazy. I do think us Arsenal fans, we love this woe is me stuff. I do think some fans have a victim's mentality, and I do think there's a bit of conspiracy theory. I don't feel the refs are against us as much as us Arsenal fans, including myself, like to exaggerate. But what we can't sit here and do is lie that we're not judged differently. I don't know if it's an unconscious bias. I don't know if it's mind games. You know, big up TalkSport for having me, people. I tried to get the footage, and I've actually got a video coming out in relation to what I did on TalkSport. There was actually a segment, where, and I would have loved for them to clip it up. There was a segment where I said, I believe referees, the standard of refereeing, there's no coincidence. Long story short, people, if I'm honest with you, you can't have the best managers from all over the world, the best players, the best coaching staff, nutritionists, physios, you know, guys that, you know, marketers, all that sort of stuff that goes into making the Premier League what it is in the entertainment package. Can it be a coincidence that the level of refereeing, forget Arsenal for a sec, big up Wolves, because Wolves have been done dirty as well. Every week there's some sort of inconsistency or some talking point. When we get away from managerial tactics, when we get away from, you know, what winning and losing and drawing means for teams, there's always refereeing segments. Is that a coincidence? Is this level of incompetency in the refereeing game specific to England? Because you look abroad, the way they use VAR, the way they ref games, you know, I can only really speak for Arsenal fans, but big up you look that in Europe. Yes, referees make mistakes and you have to give them, you know, some sort of leeway in that regards. But also at the same time, the more enjoyable games are those in Europe. The more free-flowing games, definitely where Arsenal are concerned, are in Europe, really. It's the inconsistencies and the nonsense that is in the Premier League, people. Again, this live stream won't be as long as, you know, I would like it to be. Unfortunately, I've got to go to a funeral straight after this, people. I've got to get ready and go. And on that, that's why life is precious, man. We've got to go and achieve our goals, hopes, dreams, ambitions, and aspirations. Make sure you're smashing the like button. Big up you lot on Twitch, people, as well. What else was I going to say? Don't forget to turn on your notification bells, because tomorrow, early 12:30 kickoff, it is Newcastle against Arsenal. So naturally, I'll be live at 11:30, an hour before kickoff, people. So yeah, big up you lot, big up 2-3, shout Edward, J Money, and yourself, James. Whatever you said, let's go get Tchouaméni, bro. I would love to sign Tchouaméni. I'd love to get Tchouaméni, but let's be honest. It's like a gal that you think is attractive. She's 1 minute she want to chat to you and saying date night and I could have a future, and then they're getting cold feet. We've seen it numerous times. You know, Liverpool got shagged, Bayern got shagged, Arsenal got shagged. Is he one of those players that wants to stay in Spain, stay at Sociedad, be a, you know, Francesco Totti one club man, or is he one of those that wants to follow Xabi Alonso to a Bayern Munich? I know companies there, but he's been linked with them too. Well, he's not going to go Liverpool now, but Xabi Alonso's actually been linked with Manchester City, who have been linked with Tchouaméni as well. Now, again, naturally, Rodri's been injured, who's, you know, he's been linked with Real Madrid, but he's been injured, so I don't know how much stock you take in that. I do think the club loves Tchouaméni. I think that's the perfect kind of cultural six for us. Obviously, nobody can sit here and be Rodri, but I think he would be somewhat closer to him. I don't think we're going to do that though, man. To have Tchouaméni, Declan Rice, Mikel Merino, potentially another year of Thomas Partey and etc., it might be lit, man. So yeah, smash the like button. The FA defo have crap refs. Big up Tans, because she's always here. She's a troll, you lot don't see it, but yeah, she's always here. The FA defo have crap refs to drive up revenue because they know it's big talking points. Exactly. It gets people on YouTube like myself talking, people on, you know, all the media houses, the Sky Sports, the Talk Sports, all of those things talking. It gets, it gets people in a job, because typically on a Saturday and a Sunday, when there's dodgy refereeing decisions or inconsistent refereeing decisions, or we're all wondering what's going on here, what do we see on the Monday on Sky Sports? It's Dermot Gallagher, it's all of those kind of guys. Personally, I think what I think would help refereeing is kind of piggybanking off what I said before, in the sense of, you don't really care if a player is English. You don't really care if a manager's English. If they're English and you're an English club, but that's great stuff. But you want to get the best players regardless of where they're from and what they look like, right? Why is that not extended to refereeing? Because there's clearly, the best refs are not English. Rarely, it's the lowest. When you look at the international tournaments, in comparison to other countries, which I don't have the data to hand, English referees are not really the ones going over there. Fans, if we have an opinion, we get praised or critiqued. The players as well. Refs don't. Refs at most, they get demoted and then they're back. And, there's things where, like, let's just say, I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, respectfully to Nottingham Forest, that isn't a game that's going to be, the highest viewed Premier League game, right? But if you make a mistake as a referee in a game like that, what they're going to do? They're going to give you the Manchester derby, the Arsenal derby. They're going to give you that must-win game, whether it's promotion, relegation, all of that jazz towards the end of the season. I think referees are human. I do think they have to be given, some sort of leeway in that, I just made a mistake. But the implementation of VAR, there's nothing wrong with VAR. It's just how it's being used, not bringing in foreign referees. Referees are human, as I said, people. But what do humans do? We all have conscious and unconscious bias. If I think Arsenal or Man United, their players are divers or they milk fouls and things, naturally, I'm going to have that in my head, really and truly. And personally, I feel I'm a bit of a hypocrite, because I can't sit here and list off many a referee, but I look at, Howard Webb. I look at, what's the other one, man? What's the other referee that recently retired and he started going on podcasts? I just think there's too much of a personality around refs. I think some refs try and make the game about them, and they behave like that kid that got bullied that becomes a police officer and they can finally get some authority. I think they want to be personalities. I think they want to be seen and heard, which a referee shouldn't be. In a good way, a good referee, in my opinion, shouldn't want to be seen. Just free flow the games. And I also feel referees bottle big decisions. Now, as an Arsenal fan, I'm a hypocrite, because there was a red card decision in the game against Manchester City, right? Which obviously became a big talking point. But I do think some referees lack courage and they don't want to become the talking point about it. And, you look at the Arsenal-Liverpool game, there was a couple of decisions that you're thinking, what's going on there? If I'm honest with you, big up the nation, man. You lot got me on TalkSport. You lot are getting me closer to 70k subs. The engagement, the viewership, it ain't the best. Our next fight is to fight the YouTube algorithm and the Twitch one. So, yeah, make sure you're smashing like buttons. You're turning on notifications. It's got to the point I might have to ask you lot for your email accounts or do Discord, because that's the only way you lot are going to be properly notified of content, man. We'll do that. Ed would appreciate that. Alonso will be at Real next season. Well, he could be. You look at Real Madrid, you don't really have a long shelf life. Carlo's been there twice, got Manager of the Year, I believe, recently at the Ballon d'Or Awards, obviously won a lot of stuff. But Xabi Alonso's stocks are high, and you'd imagine he'd have the pick of clubs. And I must admit, I like Mikel Arteta. I think Mikel Arteta is the man for the job. That doesn't mean I back you religiously, and I don't ask question marks, definitely, if you don't get a major title over the line. But I must admit, if Mikel Arteta, let's just skip to the end of the season, we didn't win the trophy. You all know Mikel Arteta ain't going to get sacked. I'm not pushing for him to get sacked, right? But if Xabi Alonso said, I want to sign for Arsenal, I might sit there and be like, you know what? You're similar to Mikel Arteta. You play attractive football. Big up Arteta. I don't know. I assume if you was at Leverkusen, you would have won the Bundesliga as well. But I don't know. Bearing in mind, Xabi Alonso went invincible. I might think, you know what, Arteta, I have no doubt in my mind you're going to become a next good manager. That's one thing I have in mind with Arteta. I do think you're going to achieve big things, win things in the game. But I might say, Xabi Alonso, come and do this. That's actually, there's two major fears around me. I should make a video about this, but there's two major fears around me with Arsenal in general under Mikel Arteta. One is we're in that sweet spot, including this year, the last 3 years, we've been in that little sweet spot. Of course, like every team, you want a dynasty, you want to win many trophies, you want to do three-peats, and you want to get Manchester United or Liverpool's league title records. You want to win everything, right? That isn't happening, and I can't see it predict the future. But where you look at, obviously, Manchester City are juggernauts. These lot are crazy. They're doing mad things. But Pep might leave. Chelsea and United are in a transitional period. Liverpool look great under Onslaught, but it's his first year post for Klopp. It's like we've got our ship together. it feels, and I'm exaggerating a bit, but it feels like this was the sweetest moment for Arsenal. I'd definitely say to win a league title. Champions League is another ball game, but to win a couple titles. My next big fear is, well, three big fears actually. My next fear would be, obviously, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but Arsenal, we've kind of steadied the ship. Whether we've been as intense in our ambition of winning a league title is subjective. But another one I would say would be, I'm not expecting it anytime soon, but Chelsea under Maresca look good. They spend money. Nobody's talking about the signings Chelsea have made because they're working. How long before they get their ship in order and they start doing what Arsenal was doing in our first year where we fought for the title, where obviously Saliba got injured? You know, Manchester United have just formally announced Ruben Amorim, whether, you know, I hope he's more like AVB than Jose Mourinho. But if he's seen as one of these kind of Arteta managers, the managers of tomorrow, these kind of guys, then if them two clubs get their ship together and whatever going on with Liverpool and City and Arsenal is still here, have we taken advantage of stuff? And then my next fear would be, yeah, a bit like how we sit here and we go, maybe not so much Saka because he's homegrown, but again, you're going to have a question. But we always sit there and speak about the Sakas, the Salibas, and think, well, how long are they going to stay here and be the bridesmaids, not necessarily the groom? Mikel Arteta is the manager. Everything good or positive indirectly starts and stops with the manager. Lazy opinion. You all know we can go more in depth in that regards, but there is that, right? My fear is you look at Mikel Arteta, what the man's in his late 30s, early 40s. He's clearly not going to, I don't think it's going to happen anymore, even though you could look at Klopp or Pep. You're not going to see a manager do the Arsene Wenger, 20 odd years. You're not going to really see this Alex Ferguson. I don't feel managers have a shelf life that long, right? But my thing is, I've got no doubt Mikel Arteta is going to win a league title or a Champions League or something. My issue and my only main concern, as much as I could have criticisms or praise for Mikel Arteta, simply put, are you going to do it at Arsenal? Because it doesn't matter for me. I like Arteta, but it doesn't matter for me. If you go, I don't know, to Real Madrid tomorrow and you win the champs, that's great for you. Arsenal ain't got nothing. So I don't want Mikel Arteta to just, and I know he's got the internal pressure on himself and he speaks about winning titles, but, I don't want him to learn all the good and the bad and find a level of education at Arsenal, go to another club and do the things he did well, do other things differently, which didn't work, and ultimately win titles, really. It's almost like the best analogy would be during the early Emirates era where we was getting some decent players together, the Nasris, the Sesses, etc. Whenever we got a decent crop, we had to sell, really, and they went off to, win other stuff, really. Thierry Henry had to leave to win the champs. Technically, Cess left to win the, to win the Prem. Ashley Cole's one, probably the one that hurt the most for me. So yeah, man, it is where it is in that regards. Again, make sure you're doing up the like button, people. Big up yourselves each and every time. Big up yourself, Dermot. I'll take a 1-0 away victory tomorrow, no injuries. I mean, 1-0 to the Arsenal's a famous chant. What I would say is, people could criticize us about being a defensive side and all of this sort of jazz and rhetoric, and I don't really care for it. I definitely feel we could play slightly more attacking football. I actually feel our defensive standards could go up several gears, right? But for me, I don't care. What I would say is defensively, we're going to need to be at it. We played Bournemouth, who was struggling on the results basis. And what happened there? We did well to get a point against Liverpool. Probably could have got 2, but there's 2 games we have not won now. You don't want City to break away. City enjoyed last week. Both of the title rivals drew. They won games. You want to get back to the winning way. So, yeah, I would take that. But I think we need to go up several gears defensively. We need to, for me, it's a derby now. Like, I don't, listen, big up Newcastle, but we're not your mates, innit? And the weirdest thing is, under Mikel Arteta in these last 3 years, with the greatest of respect to Newcastle, Brighton and West Ham, I don't know why you lot don't like us, why you lot are forcing this kind of rivalry thing. It's dead. But in the last couple of years with Arsenal, Newcastle, there's been a rivalry. You see it on the pitch. You saw the heated moments last game, probably 2 years ago when, well, fair enough, I've got nothing against dark arts, but someone's got something when Arsenal do it. If you remember at the Emirates, they wasted a lot of time. And I do think this kind of started with, I think Eddie Howe and Arteta have been respectful to each other, people, but I think a couple of years ago they kept sending shots at each other in the press conferences. So it's a derby game, and I'll take a win anywhere they come, man. It's a 12:30 kickoff. Historically, as an Arsenal fan, you're wondering, boy, are we going to be up at the races? Of course, what we played on Wednesday, so that's 48 hours recovery, and you could see probably the Ethans were cramping up, etc. So I don't feel, even if we've got injuries, for the players that are fit aren't necessarily going to be in the best of health, but that's not an excuse. Everybody has to go through it. We wanted to be in this sort of scenario where every game is a must win. This is what we dreamed of, fighting for leagues, etc. So we're going to have to get on with it. Injuries can happen at any time, but you're you're right, man. We hope you want to get 3 points. You want no injuries. Refereeing across the board needs to be looked at. A foul in the Premiership won't be a foul in European or international football. I don't understand why the automated offside is only coming to the Prem mid-November. How is that fair? Because they didn't want it. That's the thing about England. People want to do. It's always other nations, like let's just say Spain, and I don't even know, but Spain, Italy, Portugal, I don't even know why I'm saying this, but Uruguay, them lot will see, oh, you know what? Automated VAR actually works. Let's go. England will see it and say, nah, do it my way, mate. Like, and this is why we're in issues. If I'm honest with you, appreciate that. As back, except Calafiori got to win tomorrow. I expect a 2-0 win. Can see everyone mostly there. Tchouaméni would be great if we can. I would love Tchouaméni. We're going to get into all of that. I would love Tchouaméni. He'd be great, French ties, blockbuster central midfielder. But then, is Tchouaméni exactly what Arsenal need? Beyond the fact of it be a great player, shiny new toy, I don't know if I believe the rumours Real Madrid want to let him go. But would it be what Arsenal need? Because you'd have Tchouaméni, who's obviously got quality on the ball. Declan Rice, not strong point, but quality on the ball. Mikel Moreno and maybe Thomas Partey for another year on top of all the other options. Is that what we need? And I don't have any players in mind per se, people, but do we need another Tchouaméni sort? Or do you need a Santi, a Cess, them kind of midfield maestros, the linchpin, the kind of glue in midfield, someone that can break the lines consistently? I'm not sure, but I would love him for what it's worth, man. And it would be right on brand with Mikel Arteta, really, with height and physicality being installed all across this field, all across the pitch, for Arsenal, much less in midfield, man. 3-0 win to Mo's, big up, shout yourself in a circle. You're a tough man to please. It's nice to see you're optimistic, man. Bruno Gomares always up for it against us. Naturally, you know what time it is. Bruno Gomares, time wasting, barges, Joe Linton behaving like a bouncer. We know what time it is. They're going to fight for set pieces. We're playing 12 players. Isaac hasn't been at the races generally this season, but against Chelsea, step in the right direction. I want Isaac because he's got a decent record against Chelsea, decent record against Spurs, Premier League proven, played with Merino and Odegaard before. The number 14 is free. Take nothing away from Kai Havertz because I still think he's got a key part to play, but we all know we need a striker, man, and be a good audition for him tomorrow. Or I hope he fluffs his lines naturally. What players would you say is in the Santi mode? And that's the thing off the top of my head is difficult. I wouldn't quite say Santi, but I felt we could have done with a Coop Miners in the summer, if that makes sense. Someone mentioned Bruno Gomares. Obviously, I wouldn't say Santi Cazorla, but I think Bruno Gomares can do a bit of everything. He can muck in, he can fight, he can win the ball, he can build out from the back, he can play those lines, splitting passes. I think you'll see a better Martin Odegaard. You'll see a better Martin Odegaard. He will still have to drop deep and all of that, but you'd have someone to link up with. We all know, even when Odegaard was here, we had creativity issues, but we all know with no Odegaard, we really struggle in that regards, man. So, yeah, man, it is what it is. If I share my screen with you lot, people, and we crack on with things, where we at? Now, apparently, Gabriel Magalhaes was in contention to play against Preston on Wednesday night. However, Arsenal ultimately decided to rest the player. Apparently, Arsenal are hopeful Odegaard will be back for their Champions League showdown at Inter Milan next week. Odegaard is progressing well in his recovery, and there's an outside chance he could even make the squad to face Newcastle on Saturday, people. Injury updates. Apparently, we've gone over Gabriel Magalhaes and Mikel Arteta. I think for this current climate, Arsenal have got themselves in with injuries, and we don't know what player is going to be there. I must admit, it's a thing with Mikel Arteta where I'm not really taking too much stock on if you sound positive or negative around players, because some of it you do tell us the truth, some of it's white lies. You've told us some players are going to be there, they're not. You've told us some players are not going to be in the matchday squad, they have. So it's one of those at this current climate with Arsenal. It's one of them where literally I'm just going to wait till tomorrow. Whoever is starting / in the matchday squad, they're in the matchday squad. Bit parched, people, sorry. It is difficult talking for all this time. But anyways, allegedly, it remains touch and go for Gabriel, with Mikel Arteta revealing we have a training session today. If he can complete that, he'll be available. He hasn't had any training sessions yet, but if he's able to do that today, he'll be available to be in the squad. Gabriel, make sure you pass that because we need you and Saliba. I don't know how long Timber's got in the tank. Who actually plays left back? Does he, is there a rogue shout for Lewis Skelly? Difficult one at Newcastle away. Calafiori, I don't think we expect him to be there. Does he go with Kivior? Is there Zinchenko? If Benjamin White's fit, then naturally Timber goes over there, people. But we all know Ben White played against played against Liverpool, apologies, last Sunday at centre-half. Arteta has admitted he's struggling with a fresh injury rather than a groin injury that saw him miss action last month. That means Ben could join Calafiori, Odegaard, Tomiyasu, and Kieran Tierney on the sidelines, people, allegedly. Ricardo and Martin are out definitely. With Ben, we don't know yet. He hasn't trained yet. He could not train. He could not get involved. So let's wait and see if he's available. This is more related to a joint. He can play in those two positions. Within those two positions, he can adapt his role and play different heights, especially in ball possession, as you saw for the assist for Saka. We're demanding against a very difficult, tricky opponent with very particular duels, especially in that section of the pitch. To do that job when he hasn't played there for over a year, I think he was really good. I mean, and Newcastle, again, they obviously can play football, but it is about duels. It is about being switched on defensively. So naturally, you want the Declan Rices, the Salibas, the Gabriels, the Benjamin Whites. You want them out there really and truly. So we're going to have to see exactly what's going on. On Odegaard, he said, now is the stage when he'll do certain work with us. Let's see how he deals with pain. If he moves naturally enough, if he is physically now at the level that requires him to compete. Love to have Odegaard on the bench at the very least against Inter Milan. Hopefully, in an ideal world, he gets some minutes and he's properly, pardon me, in contention to play against Chelsea. But with the work rate and hours he's put in, I'd be surprised at the moment he starts training with us. We don't say that he looks ready, so hopefully soon. Big up yourself, Manny. Appreciate you, Zed. Gyökeres following Amorim to United, another one miss. We don't know that though, but naturally, we knew once Amorim went from Sporting to Man United going to get linked with a bunch of their players. For what it's worth, United needed a striker. I felt they could have done with Ivan Toney last summer because Zertsky, he's just on creating, he's not on striking. Højlund's got injuries and he's a young forward. And it did come out allegedly Erik ten Hag wanted Danny Welbeck back. So naturally, Gyökeres is a striker, can ease the burden. So naturally, he'll be linked with them, as well as him, obviously, knowing his previous manager, as well as, let's be honest, Man United, it's not quite the United it used to be, but it's still a magical club, a big club, still has Paul and all of that. So they're going to get linked with several players. And for what it's worth, I think Gyökeres is good. I think they're going to get Gyökeres and Diamande. I've got a video coming out next week about a certain young player at Sporting. There's a couple of players that are going to get linked with them. Gyökeres would be perfect. As I said, Amorim seems a good manager. Seems very innovative, keen to see if he goes to a three at the back, but naturally you hope he fails in that regards, people. So yeah, don't really sound too upbeat where injuries are concerned for Arsenal, people. Again, Mikel Arteta bigged up Ethan and was waxing lyrical about him during his press conference ahead of the Newcastle game. At 17 years old, to be in a position like he is one of the biggest in Europe. I think it sums up really well the level that he has. What is going to happen in the future is mainly going to depend on him and how much he wants it. So what does that tell you? That tells me that first paragraph says Mikel Arteta believes you're ready because you wouldn't be playing. You're in the room. Obviously, you're young and we have to judge expectations appropriately. Unpopular opinion, I do think there's been moments to expose Ethan to some minutes, but I think Mikel Arteta is doing a perfect job. I'd also love Ethan to probably fill in for Saka and whatnot out wide. But this tells me you've got the platform, you're proving yourself. What you do this season and beyond is down to you now. And he turns, 18 in March? Hopefully, if you're Arsenal, you get a new 5-year deal. If you're Ethan, I'm trying to sign a 3 with an option of a 4 or a 3-year deal outright. That's only because from the point you sign that 3-year deal, you're 18 months away from them having to renew terms, if I'm honest. So that's probably what his agent would be doing. At the moment, he wants it and he's surrounded by the right people. And then you see a crystal ball to see where he's going to be in a year or 2 years, 3 years. My prediction is going to be very positive. It's rare to see a talent like that at 17 years of age. That's true. But when we gave him his debut in the Premier League, there was a lot of talk about it. Let's be honest, he probably had cold feet and maybe was considering departing Arsenal. But, we gave him a pathway, we gave his debut and it clearly worked out. But we didn't do it because it was a gift. We did it because we knew the pathway that we wanted to build with him. And we wanted to send him a really strong message about how much we trust him and how much we want him to stay with us. So I'm right on brand to stay with us, bearing in mind Liverpool and City and Chelsea were onto him, people. We are delighted to have him. A big up Lewis Skelly as well, man, because, it's nice to see the young bulls get some minutes as well, people. Moving on. He said, I think the biggest thing is to push him. And when he's being pushed, you always grab him right behind pause to make sure that he's always stable and protected. But with this talent, you have to push him. The protection is necessary to keep an eye on him and be at the right distance. But he needs to see that if he can fly and don't clip any wings. He then went on to say, he said, not at Mikel Arteta is talking about Barca. He said, not at this level. I was really lucky as well because someone trusted me at that age and gave me the opportunity, which is what they need as well. For the talent to emerge, someone has to give you the chance, the belief that you have to be surrounded by the right team, the right players. If you do that, you have a chance. What I like about him is he really believes that he has the ability to do it. He really believes he's capable of taking anyone's place, as you should be. You know, as much as it's a family and everybody's here to, you know, you got to put your ego to the side and collective goal and whatnot. It's you or me. It's sink or swim. Do you want a spot? Go and take Odegaard's. Go and take whoever is in midfield. Go and take, I'm exaggerating, but Saka, because you could play out wide. Go and make Mikel Arteta think, you know what, I can't leave this lad out the side. And that goes for everybody. This is why I like Lewis Skelly's taking his chances. I reckon he's ahead of Zinchenko now. And maybe even Kivio. The next step is maybe convincing Mikel Arteta, you know what, Tomiyasu is a good player, gets injured. Maybe there's a pathway. Because even if you look at left back, or defense, I must admit, because of the injuries around defense people, I must admit, me personally, I wouldn't mind another ideally versatile centre half or defender or another centre half. You look at left back, whether these players leave or not, you can make a case of, for different reasons. Maybe the club have had enough with Tomiyasu's injuries. Zinchenko's got 2 years left. Stock has fallen. Valued member of the squad, but maybe there's resources that could go elsewhere. Kivio, not really going to get significant football. You can make a case of all three of them, or at least two of the three going, which naturally Lewis Skelly, who's a midfielder playing that in the inverted role and can play right back. This is how you get in the manager's thinking, people. So, yeah. Big him up for that one. Moving on, let's see exactly what Mikel Arteta said in his press conference, people. We've gone over, sir. We know the Premier League is physical. On whether there will be contract talks with Partey, said he's only 31. Only 31 could be telling, and he's in a really good place. And yeah, we'll have discussions. So I wonder what that means. Big up to you lot that watched my video. Again, make sure you're checking out the videos because I did a video about this. Would you give Thomas Partey a new deal, people? Arteta also said the one thing that we needed was Thomas to be at the level we wanted. Certainly, he's working so hard to do what he's doing at the moment. Started the last 8-9 games in the Prem. I think he's doing really well in different positions with different demands, and he's coping with it in a great way. He's a big player for us. And again, only 31, people, which is good. What else have we got? On if his meditation helps him with refereeing decisions. I mean, Mikel Arteta, we all know the less we talk about referee decisions, the better. We've gone over Benjamin White, Tomiyasu, man, bloody hell, Tommy, I love you, but you're never fit, man. It's like your favorite work colleague never being at work. It don't matter how good he is at his job. If you're never there, you're never there. He said, I don't expect him to be available before the break, unfortunately. The international break is next week. Forgive me if I'm wrong. So that's probably telling, and that's a guy's into Tomiyasu's seriously suffered a setback in it, people. On Martin Odegaard for the Inter game, people, we've gone over that as well. On how we reflected on the Newcastle goal against us last season. I didn't stop on that sequence, in brackets, when he watched it back. It's already in my hard drive, so I didn't want to go through that again. He then spoke about referees. He said, no, because every club has a history of games and situations and comments. That's part of the game. We have to understand it for what it is. If every decision I make is going to get criticized, or they understand or don't understand, it's part of the game. We're always going to have opinions about the job. That's normal. On if there's any lasting consequences from that incident at St. James's Park. Nope. Hopefully we've passed it. We've talked through it in depth, and that's done. A year in football is a long, long time. Amen. Saka has been nominated for Goal of the Month and Player of the Month. And I mean, how can we not be proud of this star boy? They don't rate him. They compare him to everyone. At this point, I'm done defending Bukayo Saka. If you've got eyes, you can see how wavy he is. And I don't know why this is here on the tabs, but there it is. Now, in relation to Tchouaméni, apparently, Real Madrid opened Tchouaméni's sale. Tchouaméni has been considered untransferable since joining Real Madrid from AS Monaco, but not anymore, according to a report from Revellino. The Spanish publication reports that Tchouaméni, who recently captained the French side for the first time in the absence of Kylian Mbappe, is losing credit at Real Madrid. Probably happens to a lot of players. Whilst Carlo Ancelotti retains faith in the Frenchman, albeit to a lesser degree than before, other actors around the club, choice words there, are more concerned about Tchouaméni amid a downturn in form. Amid these creeping doubts about Tchouaméni, Los Blancos no longer consider him to be untransferable. Real Madrid, who are more keen to back Camavinga to shine in midfield, would be willing to listen to offers for Tchouaméni, who retains a strong market value and has multiple interested parties. With an offer potentially being readied for Manchester City's Rodri too, the increasingly contested Tchouaméni's days at the key as the key man in Real Madrid's midfield may be numbered. The Daily Mail have also said people he could be available for a fee in the region of the 80s. I don't know what to believe. I would love Tchouaméni. I don't think it's going to happen though, if I'm honest with people. Mikel Arteta has been, coming into light for a bit of the games he plays with players being fit. He said, I don't want to make it easy for anyone. The opponent has to work, think, and prepare and make sure they do their homework like I have to. I wish I knew their starting 11 who is on the bench, but I don't. It's our job to guess and do the work we have to do. I'll tell you everything, but that has consequences. I need to be very careful because sometimes I can tell you a player is going to be a few weeks, but it's a few months. Sometimes I don't know if a player is going to be fit in 2 days' time or when the press conference is. Fair enough. When I know, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to say he's not fit. All managers are liars. And then I play him. I would never do that. But if I'm certain or I don't want to tell you, I'll keep you guessing. This is my job, but as well to keep all my guys, everyone alert as well. That's important, people. So yeah, man, big him up on that regards, people. As he's spoken about Timber, because we've gone over Calafiori, who said he's not going to be available. We've gone over Odegaard, Tomiyasu, Gabriel, etc., etc. Has he said anything we know about the goalie Tommy's capabilities? No, he hasn't said anything. In case you've been living under a rock, we have Crystal Palace in the League Cup in the next round, people. As I said earlier, Liverpool's Saka's strike against Liverpool, better yet, has been nominated for October's Goal of the Month, and he's also been nominated for Player of the Month. Again, if we imagine having Gabriel Jesus, Raheem Sterling, and Leroy Sané, that would have been a great midfield. Oh, sorry, a great attacking three a couple of years ago. I'm not sure. We all know we were linked to Leroy Sané in the summer. We all know those rumors haven't gone away. His contract is expiring at Bayern Munich. Allegedly, we're working on a deal to sign Leroy Sané on a free transfer when his Bayern contract expires next summer, people. Van Dijk, to be fair, Van Dijk wasn't at the level Saliba was at his age. Saliba, there's no guarantee you're going to hit the heights of what Van Dijk is going to do. I believe you will, but I ain't got a crystal ball. At the end of the day, to receive praise from Van Dijk is great for Saliba, people. And Van Dijk's been bigging him up. Obviously, Saliba's making very good steps at the moment. He's the first one I just have in mind now. He's solid. I think in possession, he's doing a good job. I think if I'm honest, when I was that age, I was nowhere near where he was today. Obviously, that's the beauty of football. I like to watch other defenders and pick up so much stuff from them. There are so many good ball players and centre-halves when you watch the game. I definitely watch games, especially on the highest level. You can always pick up certain things. But also have in mind that teams are defending in a different way than we are defending. So you have to keep that in mind too. I think especially in ball possession, the way you position yourself, because obviously we're a team that has the ball a lot. I play on the left side as a right footer, centre half. Obviously, for many years, sometimes it's good to pick up the positioning of certain players and what they do. I feel like at any age you can keep learning, and I definitely still do that. Pick up Van Dijk because I don't think anyone could complain with what he said there. Liverpool haunt Arsenal as Hughes' eyes signing of generational star for just 25 million. Bring Joel Hatto to the carpet tomorrow. Allegedly, Liverpool have muscled in on Arsenal's attempts to sign a left-sided defender who is viewed as generational, according to reports. Aside from ironing out new contracts for Trent, Van Dijk, and Salah, the subject of signing a new left-back probably owing to. Would it be? I'm not a Liverpool fan, but would it be fair to say Robertson's on his way out or he's on a downward spiral? Not because Saka cooked him, but it does look like you're not really hitting the heights, and it does look like Tsimikas is favoured at Liverpool more than I've seen before, people. So, yeah, according to TBR Football, one player Liverpool are taking a look at is Joel Hatto, because as you know, we all tried to sign him. You see what we've got going on with Timber. Come and join us, man. Come and join us, man. You don't want to link up with Cody Gakpo in Liverpool. It's Timber settings. Plus, you really want to live in Liverpool. You want to stay in London. Come on, man. You know what time it is. But yeah, they've been linked with him, as have Juventus. If he's available for 25 million, which I'm not too sure, go and get it done. He's also been linked with Real Madrid, though, people. Doesn't seem like there's anything in that tab. So let's begin the process of closing these. Tab police, I'm getting better, man. Look, we're getting better. Tabs are closing. That was just something I was reading earlier. Gyökeres's agent confirms Arsenal possibility as Amorim leaves. Gyökeres is one of a number of sporting players who could leave the Portuguese club in the wake of Amorim's departure. Are they going to let him go in January, especially because they just lost their gaffer? I'm not too sure. What has his agent said? Amorim's departure is whatever this says. Amorim's departure has particularly left players with greater value such as Gyökeres and Hodgman. who had offers to leave in the summer transfer window, but who were enticed to stay with Sporting due to the project and the continuity of Amorim dissatisfied. Apparently, Amorim's agent revealed in the summer, they done us, that Gyökeres was only at Sporting because of Amorim. In the comments, that throws the possibility of a January deal. Are we going to move him for him in January, or are we going to wait till the summer? Because I'm not saying going for an Isaac, a Sesko, a Gyökeres, getting that done in the summer in the January period, isn't the worst thing. But the club might say, boy, if you do this now, we might not get something done in the summer. I don't know. How do you lot view it, people? He said it would be more difficult for Victor to stay if Amorim leaves Sporting, because Victor came precisely because of Ruben. The day we met, I said to Ruben, here's my boy. He came to Sporting because of you. There were 8 clubs very interested in signing Victor last summer, in brackets 2023. They all paid Coventry more than Sporting. They all paid Victor more. They all paid a higher commission to the agent. I brought him to Sporting because of Ruben Amorim, because I know his work and his work with the players. I chose Amorim because he's a coach at another level. I think Man United, the best signing they can make from Sporting would be Diamande. For me, I mean, managers can leave at any given time. Like, yeah, you stayed because of him, but he owes you nothing. If going to Man United advances his career, he's going to get it done. I would love Gyökeres, man. You know, you saw the goal a couple of weeks in the Champions League where he ran into the channels. You know, the man he scored a free kick this week as well. He can hit free kicks. He can work the channels. His link-up plays great. Makes great runs. Obviously scores goals. In theory, I think he's perfect for Arsenal in terms of what we demand from a striker and what the fans then want to see, people. I'm tired of hearing about Nico Williams, but apparently there's 3 clubs willing to pay the 150 million euro star, allegedly, who's been thrown in. Barcelona, Arsenal, Chelsea, and PSG are all willing to splash out 150 million. Does that make sense? Because didn't he have a release clause of 50 million? Maybe they get him to sign a new deal. Apparently, Athletic are doing everything in their power to retain the left winger, who is under contract until 2027. The report, however, is a curious one, purely because Nico Williams has a release clause in his Athletic deal that is worth a mere 58 million euros. While there's been speculation that he could be offered a new deal, there's no mention of this possibility in the report, making talk of 150 million fee. What could be a stumbling block for these clubs, and particularly Chelsea, really for Chelsea, pardon me, is Williams' wage demands. Athletic are known to pay their top stars handsomely for their loyalty, and as such, the Spain star earns more than he would at another club the size of Bilbao's outfit, an estimated 10.5 million per year. Arsenal and PSG might accept such wages, but Chelsea prefer to offer players longer deals at lower wages, offering long-term security but less short-term gain. So we'll have to see where that's concerned, people. Arsenal will face a Liverpool battle for new Caicedo transfer. Who is this? I bet it's Belemba. There it is. We have been linked with Belemba, and Talksport's Alex Scott has been pushing that one. Why didn't we just get this man when he was at Lille? Spurs, Arsenal, Liverpool have all been name dropped. Brighton are not going to let him go cheaply. We all know how Brighton kind of maneuver, and we've obviously selling Cucurella, Caicedo, Benjamin White, McAllister. They've obviously got strong sort of cash reserves, so they're not really pressed to sell, really. And I actually think Brighton have got to that stage. Naturally, it's the circle of life. The same way the best players are Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United, City, Spurs, LOL. All of them guys, if Real Madrid come for you, naturally you're going to listen. You want to go. It's the evolution of life, really and truly. Same way Real Madrid's the pinnacle. The only way is down. When they want to let you go, they let you go. So naturally, people will always want to leave Brighton for the traditional top 6, if I'm honest with you. But at the same time, I personally think Brighton are at that stage now where you need to hold on to a couple of these players and try and achieve something. I might be wrong, though. Let me know your thoughts. I wouldn't mind Belemba. Could be a long-term different, but slightly long-term replacement for Partey. Can passable. I just worry that he's not a brute, but I just think it's another brute in midfield, personally, folks, in a sense of you'd have him, Moreno, Declan Rice, long-term. Again, I'm pushing this agenda. You ain't got that Santi, that Cesc Fabregas, that line breaker, that orgasmic passer, if I'm honest with you. Moving away from that, Osimhen sends Premier League giants clear transfer message. I mean, big up to you lot. You think Arsenal are going to get Osimhen, innit? Arsenal, PSG, Chelsea, the whole world will link with the 25-year-old who is on loan at Galatasaray, people. Yeah, people. Apparently, he's still trying to get a move in the January window. Arsenal have a free run at Nico Williams if he extends his Athletic contract, according to the Spanish media. Why? How? Because he's still, even though it don't look like Barcelona need him right now, you'd imagine Barca are still on to him, people. I mean, but Barcelona might drop out owing to Rafinha's form. Dani Almo obviously provides versatility. Forget about it. But naturally, Arsenal should remain interested in the winger. And given that Raheem Sterling is yet to impress at the Emirates, it seems likely that the Gunners will be in the market for a wide player again in 2025. I think it's true about Sterling, but personally, I think that's a bit harsh to Sterling because he hasn't really been given a consistent platform. Really, he had to get subbed against Bournemouth. It's very difficult to show your best when you're not getting starts, but at the same time, you're hardly enticed by anything Sterling did. I do think when I watched the Southampton game, he started, right? When I watched that again, I think he did a bit better than I gave him credit for when I reviewed the game first time around. I think the only time I've really somewhat felt there's something there in Raheem Sterling was, and it's only respectfully, it's only Preston, but when he went left wing in the second half, I don't think he was terrible in the first half, but he was a level below everyone. Fortunately, Raheem's only here on loan, so we'll have to see. Karaskila, I can't say this Napoli lad's name. Napoli are flying in Serie A under Conte. Apparently, they failed to reach an agreement over a new contract. And I know some of you, me included, I love Martinelli, but if you look in our front line, Martinelli's probably the one that is probably, how do you make it make sense? I want to be sensible here. He's probably the most disposable right now on paper, and I love Martinelli, but Kai Havertz is doing what he's doing. He's still vital. Even if we sign a striker, I still think Havertz has a key role to play. If you can find a player twice the ability of Bukayo Saka on the market, I love Saka, but I'd be for that. But that's not happening really. Left wing, could you go and do that? Would some of you take this? I'm not too sure if I'm going to take any real stock in that, people, but yeah, it is what it is in that regards. Hopefully it's positive. No one except Robbie Lau surprised by Sterling's form. Big up Robbie, man. Big up Uncle, man. I mean, listen, we're gonna back Raheem Sterling to the death, innit? Really and truly. We all knew the premise of Raheem Sterling signing for our football club, people. We all knew he wasn't fit. He was alienated, barely got any starts, wasn't going to really start for Arsenal Football Club in any capacity. As I said, it's a double-edged sword because I do think Sterling has to do the Trossard thing. Whether you get 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, you just got to do a thing, really. But you do need a run. And it does look like damaged goods. We all know, let's be honest, that deal was a relationship of convenience. Edu even came out and said, yeah, we didn't plan to do this. Whatever we tried to do in the market and find a wide man did not work. Raheem Sterling pushed out of Chelsea, get him on loan, favourable terms. We need depth. He knows Mikel Arteta. That's great. The only kind of copium that us Arsenal fans could look at, for me, is this, first and foremost. Hopefully the green screen ain't doing nothing. But this really, he's a yard man, isn't it? Really? That's why I wanted Sterling, and I still hope it works out. Like, even if you... Boy, Sterling, if you score the winning goal and we win the Premier League, that's great. But yeah, man, that was the only real reason with Raheem Sterling, is that he's a yard man. And you just watch the YouTube videos of what he used to look like. Now, Mikel Arteta knows more about football than me. And I understand, as much as, versatility is a key part of Raheem Sterling. That's probably why you've seen him play on the right-hand side, right? But I'm not a fan of Raheem Sterling on the right. Like, it's so predictable. It's dead. It's not the thing, if I'm honest. Left wing, you get a bit, for me, you get a bit more. He can obviously go down the wings. He can cut in. You get a bit more from Raheem Sterling. And for me, we haven't really, we're not putting balls in behind for our players per se. Like, I think if we go and watch Martinelli's goals, for example, when he had that great season, a lot of it, not the ball in behind, he ain't got too much to do. And I think Sterling's a bit similar. He's a high volume player. Put several balls in behind. He'll have 10 chances, probably spunk about 9 of them, put one home, and we're laughing really and truly, man. United should take Pogba only if the history didn't exist. I think they would have had a sniff at Pogba. Boy, I don't think they should go back down the Pogba route. DG rates England when real done support France, Spain, Brazil. Joke, but really with Sterling, it's never going to work when we don't have a solid 9. I just don't think it's going to work because Sterling's never going to get a run of games. If I'm honest, I'm not saying that with a run of games he would be amazing. I'm not saying he necessarily deserves that, but the man's playing catch up. When that was Preston was his first 90 minutes. Past that, significant minutes, probably Southampton and Bolton. It's very difficult as a footballer to really show your best. Now, it's a double-edged sword because clearly in Mikel Arteta's mind, you're not ahead of Martinelli, and Martinelli's hardly setting the world alight, but you're not ahead of him. So tactically, he bets on Martinelli. Saka, forget about it. You're not involved. You can play up front. It's a Kai Havertz thing. You technically can play in the 10. It's not the 10 we want. So you're just here on work experience, really. You look back at your career. Hopefully, you win something, but you played for Arsenal, you played for City, you played for Chelsea, you played for Liverpool. You've done great stuff, man. Play Sterling in the middle. What, in the 10 or up front? I'm not for it, man, because I don't really believe in Sterling's playmaking. And I think Ethan's more likely to play there. But I think with not having Odegaard, And as much as Odegaard is silky, he connects the dots. You got to remember, Odegaard is a key part of our defense. That's why I think Mikel Arteta has kind of leveraged the Moreno right now, the Moreno Rice to a degree, the Moreno Rice party kind of thing. I'd rather Trossard there, which we've seen. If I'm honest with you, I'll be real. I'd rather put Kai Havertz in the 10 and Jesus up front than Sterling starting that 10 at this moment in time. Sterling's stuck on the floor, man. Jesus is in front of you coming off the bench, and Jesus is hardly anything to scream and shout about. Just need Jesus to get 14 more goals this season, and my YouTube channel is safe. Up front, running behind, stay on the last defender, super sun settings like Trossard. But we don't play that way anymore, though. So he'll kind of be redundant. And naturally, if you're Raheem Sterling, which probably like 5'8", you're not 6 foot plus like Kai Havertz. Naturally, what are you going to do on a bit like what you see with Trossard when he plays in the 9 at times? Naturally, you're not a physical man. You're not going to win any of that. Naturally, you're going to drop deeper into midfield. So you could do it, but I don't really want to see that now. In the Cups, fair enough. If we want to run that in the FA Cup when it comes around, if you want to run that against Palace, fair enough. I said, every time you say Moreno, when you mean Marino, I have to think a sec who you're talking about. Allow me, man. Marino, pronunciation, please allow me. Sterling helps the squad to get by until the summer, which I think you mean we must address the weaker areas. Sane 3 seems like a no-brainer. I hear it, but you see the Sane thing. Is it one that sounds better on paper than actually what we're going to get? Because Sane showed us last season in the Champions League what he's on. He's still a quality player. But for me with Sane, I think you play within yourself. I think Leroy Sane plays within himself. I think across a 10, 20 game period, there'll be games where you're amazing and games where you're indifferent. And again, I don't care how much a man gets paid, but you're going to be on big money, a bit like, in theory, what we look at with Raheem Sterling, with Kai Havertz, with Jorginho, with Zinchenko, with Jesus, mainly the City boys that are marginalized. You're meant to be leaders and difference makers. I'm having Sane, but I don't believe it, man. I just think it's one where his contract's running out. He's worked with Arteta before. We need a winger. Creative journalism settings, man. Play Sterling on the left. Amen, man. We're going to have to get a campaign going, man. But you are right. Sterling just helps us tick over. And that's the disappointing thing for me. Now, obviously, the club brought in some great additions, individual additions. I don't doubt that Edu and Mikel Arteta maybe tried to get a striker, tried to get a long-term winger, tried all of these things. But how far does try and go? If I try to ride a bike, does that necessarily mean I'm riding the bike? And if I'm harsh, it's not my job to care about that because I'm not at London Coley or whatever we call the training ground now. I don't know who you're talking with in agents. In the same way, I'm sure you lot work on something on the training ground to try and win on Sunday or Saturday or whenever we're playing. I can't care about that. It's what do I see with my eyes in front of me, isolated as a fan. And I don't think we addressed all areas. And this is just now, without providing balance, this is just my thoughts as a fan now, right? And it's very ignorant. I personally feel we made some good additions in the summer, but I looked at it. Take your mind back to May, June, July, August, whatever have you, them kind of months there, people. For me, I looked at it and I thought, boy, you know what? First year, maybe you didn't expect to fight City, but you had 1 year of fighting them for the title. Last year, you ran it down to the last day. What do we need to do to improve this squad? First and foremost, we've got to maximize what we've got internally and get them to the next level there. But what can we do to put our best foot forward? Okay, we can't go and grab Haaland. We can't find another Haaland. The man's a robot. Kai Havertz is doing his thing. But when you look at our strikers or our attackers, everybody out of them, I genuinely believe, have the capacity to get goals, right? Trossard got double figures last season. Kai Havertz in the second half of the season was electric and to a degree he's picking up where he left off. But when you look at it, Saka is the only one you'd be, not saying you wouldn't be disappointed in the others, but Bukayo Saka is the only one, surely, if, God forbid, he wasn't up there for goals and assists come the end of the season or making the difference now, you'd genuinely be shocked. Goals win games. We need difference makers. So I would have thought you go out and get that striker. You go out and get that left winger. You go out and get that Santi Cazorla, Cesc Fabregas regen. You definitely don't scramble around for goalies and sign one on loan on deadline day and then rock up with Raheem Sterling. And again, as I said, something is better than nothing. I hear it. The club tried, etc., etc. But that's just my thoughts as a fan. We could have done all of this and still had the same talking points we've had thus far in the season. But I just feel we didn't do anything in that regards. And I'm not sure about the depth. Yes, in some areas the depth has been great. But evidently, and I'm not saying Smith Rowe wanted to cut. You needed to cut. Fabio Vieira, that's Mikel Arteta probably saying, you know what? I think Fabio said, you know what, Gaffer, I want to go and get football. Mikel Arteta probably said, you know what, I don't rate you like that. I know you could do a job if there's injuries, but I don't rate you like that. You ain't really done nothing. They've gone. Now, they both needed to go. But we have not got bodies. And where you look at Smith Rowe and Fabio Vieira, as well as, they're probably 10s and 8s. That's where they're comfortable. Both of them have played out wide under Mikel Arteta. So we've left ourselves a bit short. But I'm going off on a tangent there. Amarin's been confirmed. Oh, hey, South London's finest is back. To be fair, we have our own Musiala, Verts, Foden, and we should play more. Cool, man. I'm seeing Arsenal fans already saying Ethan is better than Yalmao. Just not saying you're saying this, but that's cool, man. Let the guy develop. Let him do his thing. Just cool, man. He's doing what he needs to do. Is Wenger said he wants 2 years at Arsenal to make amends? Would you give it to him with this squad? Nah, man. No. I love Grandad, but nah, man. Nah, man. He can work on the training ground from Monday to Friday, though, patterns of play and all of that, but nah, man. If I'm honest. Zubamendi is still linked, good player. Not sure it's what we need, but he's a good age, decent price. I'm having him. I can't lie, and Buemo and Havertz up front switching is a big shout. I'm having him Buemo. I'm having him Buemo because, like you said, he can play up front, can play out wide. Brentford play very different football to Arsenal, but I think a lot of players would thrive at a lot of players in the Brentford system would thrive at Arsenal. I think they're quite closely aligned, and Buemo's a killer on the transition. I hate to be that guy, but Premier League proven. Big shout. 50 million though. I'm not sure if the club will go and do that. I'm not sure if they'll say there's value for money elsewhere, which I can't sit here and bring up others. Yes, sell all the loanees plus Jesus. Who's AZ? I'm not sure who AZ is. The acronym's got me. Tierney, Tommy, Jorginho, and rebuild where we are weak. But we're not gonna. Do you really want to sell 5, 6, 7, 8 players again? Because we know we're not. Even if we sold all of them, we know we're not gonna bring in all of that. Like, you can make a case of, rightly so, Jorginho leaving, Partey leaving, Tommy leaving, Gabriel Jesus leaving, Tierney leaving. Sterling's gonna, I don't know if they'll renew his loan. You say the same with Neto. Kivior potentially leaving. Help me out if I've missed out anyone. So you're right. But for me, I just want a winger and a striker. A winger, striker, centre mid. I'm not gonna lie, I want another defender as well. But yeah, I think next summer needs to be the time we properly address. I must admit, I hate to agree with Patrice Evra, but he is right when he compared Arsenal to a Netflix series in that you always have to wait for next season. And I understand not everything comes overnight and whatnot. But yeah, 25-year-old Osimhen looking 30-ish. I like Osimhen. I would have taken him at Arsenal, but I said it before. And I'm wrong about a lot of stuff, but I think I'm right about that. I think Osimhen's overrated. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just think he's one that the casual Premier League viewer that's not watching Napoli week in, week out is going to gas up. Is he a good goal scorer? Great. Pardon me, which he is. How many times has he got 20 plus goals? How many times has he been available across the course of the season? How many injuries does he pick up? What sort of wages is he going to want to be on? What sort of fee does Napoli want? What sort of commission does his agent want? I don't think it makes sense for anyone. And I think obviously Napoli thought they were going to hit the bag. Yo, we'll give you a new deal. The striker market's dead. Premier League stupid. Chelsea, Arsenal need forwards. We're going to make bread. They shot themselves in the foot, egg on faces. And Osimhen, let's be honest, it's like with Ivan Toney. Fair enough, Ivan, bro. Listen, if I was Ivan Toney, 400 grand a week, tax free, I'm going. But let's be honest, it was one of them where Ivan Toney was twerking on any podcast that would let him on. He said, I wanted to leave. I want to play for Madrid. I want to do this. I want to do that. None of these clubs came forward. So he had to leave. And it's a good gig, like I said, in Saudi. I think the same with Osimhen. I think Osimhen burnt all his bridges. The club probably gave him that deal and said, yo, we're not going to keep you. We're going to do this Lukaku thing. The club probably looked at the balance sheet and said, oh, it's getting a bit Football Manager-esque, FFPs onto us. Osimhen thought he was cut, and he thought, I have to go somewhere, which technically he's left, but not left because he's still on loan. Social Jones, big up yourself. Crystal Palace apparently might be pushed back because Palace have to play 2 days before, but I don't know. I can see Sane happening, but and it seems a bit because even Arsenal's women, are they not playing at the Emirates around then? Big up yourself, Abdullah, as well. Unconscious bias is a concept that needs to be fired into the sun. It's an excuse. Bias is conscious. Bias is conscious. Both of them live in the same realm, man. There's all, when I did my talent ID course, there's so many different biases. You're right. There's knowing bias, conscious bias. There's unconscious bias. There's confirmation bias in the sense of, let's just say, Joe Bloggs is playing on a football field. I think he's a good player. So let's just say we're all there, yeah? I think this guy is a good player. So I'm just going to ask you lots of opinions. You lot all just think he's a good player. I might not listen to the one person that might say he's a good player, or I think he's terrible. There's all sorts of biases at play in everything we do, man. DG, do you think we missed a trick not getting Cherky in the summer? I watched your breakdown on him in the summer. Fulham tried to sign him. I like his profile. I do, man. 100%. I do. I think the issue with him now is I don't know him. And you know me, I hate to do all this attitude issue and all of this kind of stuff. I think it's very scary when you start talking to players like that. But I think he's one of them, been a baller from young, been the best from young, in the first team, got everything. I think there's been injuries, but I think there's been natural complacency. I think he's at that stage. Do you want to be good or great? And I think on his day, with a bit of consistency, I think he could not be the best player in the world, but I think he'll be one of the flagship stars in the world. And he can play as a 10, play out wide. He's young, somewhat impressionable. I'm having him. Get Tchouaméni in midfield. Kvaratskhelia, you know, I can't say his name, but the Napoli lad has been linked. He admires Arsenal. I think he's a real baller on his day. Not sure how consistent he is. I'd sell Zinchenko's another one. Zini, Gabriel, Jorginho, all to get Gyökeres. But then you're losing a lot of bodies. You're using a lot of experience. And I don't think I do all of that, man. Has anybody seen that Somali winger in the Swedish league? He's called. Nope, but that's something for me to do my research. But you said it was a 6+ window, not having a goal, but it was a woeful and quite inadequate window. And we got punished for it with the injuries, calmer as a beach. In a circle, hold me accountable. I still maintain the window was a 6 out of 10. For me personally, I think we got some good players gone. You know, Smith Rowe went for a decent fee. Eddie went for a decent fee. I do like the Merino signing. Obviously, we did get another goalie. Sterling did provide a body. On the face of it, we did address areas. Calafiori been great. But I am with you in that I agree with what you're saying. I think we played a dangerous game with injuries. I don't think we signed level raisers per se in the areas that we needed. And we shot ourselves in the foot with the depth. And to be fair, in a circle, to me, and as I said, hold me accountable, to me, did I not say it feels like when you look at all of our business, we went 10 steps forward and then 10 steps back. So we're essentially in the same place. And for me, it was, and did I not also say, for me, it's the simple question, do I think our depth collectively is improved? Nope. Because it's fully being tested. Because, yeah, when everyone's fit, we've got good depth. But when you break it down, injuries can happen at any time, as we're seeing. You know, we knew we needed to play a kind of safe game with Timber post ACL at this moment in time. We know Tomiyasu and Zinchenko pick up injuries. You know injuries can strike at any time. And, you know, Saka's been out. Odegaard's been out. You know, Jesus loves an injury. So be fair, be a bit fair to the guy. But I hear it, man. I do hear it. Martinelli should be a squad player. Naturally, unless Martinelli goes up several gears, you're going to find yourself as a squad player, really and truly. A bit like what you've seen with different, but Jesus and Zinchenko, who were once upon a time first names on our team sheet. Like, it's progression or stagnation. And if you stagnate, then you know the game you're going to have to play, essentially. It's like Kai Havertz. If you stop doing this Kai Havertz stuff for us at this moment in time, well, it is what it is, people. So, yeah, man. You lot provide some interesting perspectives, man. Martinelli is a strong Brazilian. Walcott stopped that, man. To be fair to Walcott, Martinelli got 100 goals for this. Theo Walcott got 100 goals for this club. The way Martinelli's moving, I don't know if he'll ever reach that feat, really. But, yeah, people, I've got to go get ready for this funeral now. I've definitely ran over time. I wasn't aware of the time. First things first. New month, new blessings. Appreciate you lot for your talking points, your differences of opinions, your challenging of opinions in a circle. It's always a pleasure to be here. Do me a favor, smash the like button, tell a friend to tell a friend, share up the tiggle. We're not going to get to 70K. I've got a couple of videos to come out today, I'm pretty sure. So have a butchers of that. Make sure the notification bells are on. Check out the videos that are there already. But most importantly, stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you for your consistent support. One love.